This isn't a policy briefing. It's a live tug of war between courts, Congress, and chaos. SNAP benefits are on the line, the Trump administration is scrambling, and the nation's watching a government argue over groceries. Let's dive into the courtroom-level drama behind America's dinner table crisis.
With some breaking news, the Trump administration has now told a federal court how the U.S. Department of Agriculture plans to partially pay for SNAP food benefits this month. The funding expired on Saturday. MSNBC's Fallon Gallagher has been following this. On Friday, we talked a lot about what was going on in Massachusetts, but this 8-page response, as I understand it from the USDA to the Rhode Island State Council versus the Rhode Island State Council of Churches, is about Rhode Island. Tell us what this says.
Yeah, Chris, so this ruling is actually more important than that Boston case that we've been talking about last week. So on Friday, you'll remember a federal judge in Rhode Island ruled that the Trump administration has to pay these SNAP benefits. Now, that judge gave the administration until today at noon to say whether they were going to pay the full benefits using the partial benefits using the contingency funds, or pay full benefits using additional funds to supplement that contingency fund. Regardless, the judge said you have to pay using those contingency funds. So we just heard now at that noon deadline from the federal government saying we are going to pay with the contingency funds to cover partial SNAP benefits beginning today. So now they'll begin that process trying to figure out how they're going to pay partially to cover SNAP for the month of November. That means that these people probably won't get their benefits today. That means that the federal government will start the process of sending out these calculations of how much each state is going to get for these partial benefits today. And it's probably going to be a lapse of a couple of days before real people are actually getting these benefits. But this is something that the federal government was really concerned over last week. Specifically in that Boston hearing, when I was in court, they were making the case that it would be, quote, catastrophic if they had to do this, because they were concerned about how they would do the math to figure out exactly how much each state gets, where it goes. Remember, this has never been done before. SNAP benefits have never been suspended before during a shutdown, including the one during the president's first administration. So we are kind of in uncharted territory, but a judge is saying you have to start doing this, and the federal government has said we are going to comply and we will start doing these partial benefits today. Chris?
All right. Thank you so much, Fallon Gallagher, with that break.
So that's where it stands. A judge, a deadline, and a nation watching its food aid system hang by a thread. The Trump administration finally blinked, agreeing to fund partial SNAP benefits through contingency money. But make no mistake, this wasn't some act of compassion. It was a legal corner they couldn't escape from. The court said, pay up, and the government, after days of hesitation, finally complied. Let's call this what it really is. A moment of political and administrative panic. You've got the Department of Agriculture scrambling to figure out how to fund millions of families while simultaneously trying to save face. And it's wild, right? In a country that prides itself on economic dominance, bureaucrats are literally doing math on who eats and who waits. Here's what's fascinating. This decision doesn't just patch a hole, it exposes the system's soft underbelly. SNAP has never been suspended during a shutdown, not once. Yet now we've seen how fragile that safety net really is. People who rely on these benefits aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're single parents, veterans, disabled workers, folks who have already done everything right but still live close to the edge. And the administration's claim that compliance would be catastrophic, that's a pretty dark definition of catastrophe. Feeding hungry citizens shouldn't break the system. If it does, the system needs fixing. The judge's order wasn't political grandstanding. It was a reminder that laws exist to serve people, not to protect reputation. Let's zoom out. This entire episode is a masterclass in accountability versus authority. Courts stepped in when the executive branch stalled. That's democracy doing its job. Checks and balances, live and unfiltered. The press did its job too, forcing transparency where silence was easier. And ordinary people glued to the headlines realized just how much policy affects their plates. But maybe the biggest takeaway is empathy. When we talk about budgeting in Washington, it sounds sterile. Numbers, percentages, fiscal years. Yet every delay, every argument, every missed payment represents a refrigerator that stays empty for another week. Politics stops being abstract when hunger is involved. Now, let's be honest, this story will fade from the headlines fast. Another crisis, another controversy, another tweet will take over. But But the people waiting for those partial benefits, they don't get to move on. Their reality doesn't reset with the news cycle. And that's why commentary like this matters. Because somewhere between the courtroom and the newsroom, the human story often disappears. And we're here to keep it front and center. So what do you think? Did the government handle this responsibly? Or was this just damage control under pressure? Do court interventions like this strengthen democracy or reveal its flaws? Drop your thoughts below. I'm reading every comment. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you want more fearless breakdowns. And ring the bell so you never miss when we pull the curtain back on power. Because this isn't just politics. This is real life, real consequences, and real accountability in action.